Namaste everybody. How is everyone feeling? The kids have really energized the group, so I will try to do the boring part now. This is more of an introduction to what Guru Vandana is and how it has been continued since time immemorial, I should say, because Hinduism has been a tradition since about 4,000 to 5,000 years back, dating back to 5,000 years. And this tradition has been kept alive or is alive primarily due to the Guru Shishya Parampara. The tradition between the bondage between the Guru, the teacher, and the student, the Shishya. So it's very vital that this tradition has kept alive so long, even after so many invasions that India had, with so many different cultures being mingling out there and mixing. This tradition has richly flourished and we are seeing the flowers of it even today. We want this to continue at the same time. So part of the reason is to celebrate this on every yearly occasion. So while the presentation is getting ready, I just thought of giving a prelude of what Guru Vandana is dealing with.
Can we turn off the light so that teachers can see?
First of all, it gives me immense pleasure and joy and a great bit of humbleness to be in front of you on this auspicious occasion. Being in front of the Guru is a big privilege, and I bow to all of you to start my little introduction, so to speak, of Guru Vandana. So this tradition, as I was telling you, is basically a point of time where we, the students, worship our Gurus. So when does this happen? This happens generally on the first full moon of the Hindu month of Ashada, which typically falls in the month of June or July. How did it all start? Primarily, the greatest guru of Hinduism is Bhagavan Vedavyasji. Bhagavan Vedavyasji is the one who codified the Vedas, which are the primordial source of intelligence, and the Brahma Sutras. He wrote another set of epics called the Brahma Sutras, and in there a lot of life lessons have been given. And since this is a very oral tradition, initially it started off being transmitted orally through recitations, and it's all in Sanskrit. Primarily Sanskrit was the original language that it was transcended through the ages. We all actually have three set of philosophical documents or texts which we regard as the cream of philosophy in Hinduism. They are called the Prasthanatrayi. The first of them is the Upanishads, which is basically the essence of the Vedas in smaller forms. And the second set of document or the book is called the Brahma Sutras, which basically outlines the knowledge of self. What is self? What is the higher purpose of life? So it expounds on that concept called the Brahma Sutras. And the third one is Bhagavad Gita, which is a pretty popularly known text, which basically expounds on real life situations and lessons and how do we need to go forward in enacting our life. What is right, what is wrong, what is righteous living, what is dharma, what is karma, and all those concepts will basically flow from the Bhagavad Gita. So in Guru Puja, since this is done on the Vyasa Purnima, the birthday of Bhagavan Sri Vedavyasa, who was the codifier of the knowledge system that existed in India before. So all the students pay their respects to the teachers by worshipping them and asking them for their continued blessings. So we honor the teacher because he is the giver of knowledge. Without knowledge, you will be an ignorant animal. So he is the one who makes us from an animal to a civilized person, where you know your self-worth and you enact the best out of you. You present the best out of you and be the best in the community. So we honor Guru in that sense, to the deepest of our abilities. So let's transition off to what does Guru mean. Again, it's a Sanskrit syllable. It is a combination of two syllables, Gu and Ru. As you see in the slide, Gu means the remover of darkness by presenting the knowledge, the light of knowledge. So Gu is darkness, Ru is the remover of that darkness. So how does the darkness get removed in the first place? So if we have to expound on what darkness is, it's basically the non-knowing of your own self. That every individual is a part of this bigger cosmic Brahman, or the energy which is manifesting in him. Everyone is a part of it. To know that, and to know that your own nature is happiness itself, is that profound knowledge that the Guru imparts to the teacher. And that is one definition, Guru. And the other one is Gunatita and Rupatita. If you cognize the world, you cognize it in two different ways. One is through attributes and one is through form. Right? One is verbal and one is pictorial. So the form is the Rupa, and the attributes or the adjectives is the Gunas. So each personality is composed of Gunas, which is basically his character, his basic demeanor, what he is in terms of behavior. And then the second one is the Rupa, which is basically his form, physical form. So the one who transcends these and who is beyond these and observing in a best possible way of interacting in this interactive world is the Guru. So that is the responsibility of the Guru, and we thank you, as we have quoted a few times, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So Ishvara, which means the Lord himself, the Supreme Lord himself, is the Guru. Because we have not seen the Ishvara, the Lord. For us, you are the Lord. So that is why we are here to worship you. Because a Guru or an Acharya, as it's also said, is the one who lives what he teaches. So it is a very seminal fact that he lives his teaching. He is not just teaching and not doing by himself. So he is the imparter of this profound knowledge. So we worship Guru in that regard as well. Going back to the next slide. So another way of looking at it is to take Guru as a nurturer or a nourisher of talent. In this shloka, we see that Smriti Vyapi Vishayaha Matiragami Gochara Buddhistatkali Prokta Prajna Triloki Mata Prajnanam Namanavaimeshani Pratibha Viduhu. So this basically says that Smriti is a past knowledge, or knowledge about the past. Mati is the knowledge about the future. Buddhi is the knowledge about the current, the present. And Prajna, which is basically the wisdom of joining all of these to basically form talent, which is Pratibha. So you use the past, you use the present, and then you mix them so that it becomes appropriate for the current. So that is what a Guru nurtures in each of his students. So he or she is basically a neutral party among his students. For a Guru, all your students are the same. And you basically would, from your perspective, analyze your student and promote the best of his ability to shine. So that is a tremendous responsibility that we all really deeply honor. So there are, going back to a quick classification of the Gurus, there are briefly two types of Gurus. One is the Vidya Guru, which is the Guru who is imparting a specific skill set. So this Guru is accomplished in his specific skill set, and he imparts training in arts, it could be science, it could be math, it could be a specific area of application. And then there is another type of guru called the Diksha Guru, who is primarily a more of a spiritual guru, where he is not a direct interactor on an everyday basis, but he is eventually found. This happens when the ego of the seeker, the student, diminishes, and the guru, in another sense, analyzed in another way, guru means something which is big, which is worthy, appears on the scene. When the ego of the student diminishes, a Diksha Guru would appear and then teach you the lessons of life as to how you impart what is righteous living and how do you go about living that. In the Guru Shishya Parampara, the mode of education was a very important fact in the olden days. The students were primarily resident and would be learning a lot by osmosis, by pure observation. So the students would be living from 8 to 18 years in the ashrams called the Gurukulas. Gurukulas were the centers of education, where the family would basically put the kids in, and the guru is basically the primary careholder of the student till his graduation. So the guru had the extended responsibility of being a parent also at the same time. So this actually imparted the teaching of healthy debate when a topic was taught. There was always a question and answer kind of a dialogue that used to go between the students and the teachers, where it was always an interactive mode of education where the students would ask questions and the questions would get answered. And the guru was humble enough to not say that he would know certain things all of the time. So they would do a collective exploration at times as well. So which was kind of a very different exercise than what happens today, because kids live with the family right now. But it still has a profound effect. The guru, what they teach in school, the kids look up on the guru very highly, and it gets trickled down pretty deeply. So it's a phenomenal tradition. But the current tradition is a little off, but still the kids, the students are basically like sponge which basically absorb a lot of things by interacting with the teachers, going to the school as well. I would like to give a short story about this exemplary Guru Chanakya, and his student Chandragupta Maurya. This was between 350 to 283 BC. Acharya Chanakya, as he is very well known, or also known as Vishnugupta, was a professor or a teacher of economics and political science in Takshashila, which is currently in Pakistan. The broader part of India, which was earlier the subcontinent, was all the way from Afghanistan or towards Burma and all those parts as well. So that was the broader India then. So during that time, Alexander's forces were on the verge of attacking India and its territories, and Chanakya was very much opposed to this annexation and subjugation by the foreigners. So with the message of sovereignty, he approaches the then Magadha kingdom for help. So he asks King Dhanananda to oppose this aggression and invasion and stop Alexander. And he, due to some inadequacies of the Nanda dynasty, who were not righteous rulers, he gets turned down and insulted in the court, and he gets thrown off the court. An emotionally hurt Chanakya, Acharya Chanakya, starts walking back out of the court, and at that time, surprisingly, he stumbles across a stump of grass on his way out on the streets of Patliputra. At that point, he was very, very angry. And instead of becoming angry and doing anything, he directs his anger, and then he sits down calmly. It was burning hot during that time. On the day when he was coming out, he sits down, looks at the stump of the grass, and he starts removing it from the root of it. At this time, there was one young man who was looking all this action calmly in the back, seeing him do this thing. And then he comes to him and asks him, I am a very troubled person. Should I be troubling you with my troubles? Acharya Chanakya, as very compassionate he is, he says, no problem, you can narrate your troubles to me. He asks, what is your problem? So Chandragupta at that point says that he is a grandson of the current ruler of, the previous ruler of the Magadha kingdom, and he was overthrown by the Nandas unrighteously, and he wanted to get the kingdom back. And since Nanda had kind of insulted Chanakya, the Acharya, and sent him off the court, he found a purpose in life to groom this great emperor, Chandragupta Maurya, to get the throne as well as rule the kingdom righteously. Because the Nanda kings were very profligate, they were not caring about their subjects. All the time they were rejoicing in the court, enjoying every single day, while the subjects were suffering misery. So he wanted to change this. At the same time, he wanted to have a righteous kingdom. So he, from that time onwards, mentored Chandragupta and made him the king of the Magadha Empire initially. And because of his shrewdness and constant guidance, he was able to make sure that Chandragupta became the largest emperor at that point. The territory stretched all the way from Afghanistan all the way to Burma, his territories. Except the southern peninsula of India, everything else was part of Chandragupta Maurya's territory. The shrewdness of Chanakya, Acharya Chanakya, can be gotten from this incident wherein to make Chandragupta Maurya immune to poison by enemies, he would inject little doses of poison into his food every single day. So this is typically how the vaccines work as well, right? We all know that you inject the same bacteria that infects you in little quantities, and then it grows and attacks when things are needed. So he was using this to basically make Chandragupta immune to enemy poisoning. And once it so happened that his fully pregnant wife was unknowingly, Chandragupta Maurya fed that same poisonous food to his wife, and she was about to deliver a kid, and she couldn't sustain the poison and she passed out. The quickness of thinking of Chanakya made sure that the kid was immediately, they performed an immediate cesarean on the spot to get the kid off. And that kid was his son called Bindusara, and later on whose son was King Ashoka, who was a very popular figure in the Indian kingship. He performed a lot of good things, built a lot of good infrastructure, facilities, and he was considered a Priyadarshini, the best of emperors, wherein he worked for the welfare of the common man. So King Ashoka was basically Chandragupta Maurya's lineage emperor. So that story was an inspiring story of Chandragupta Maurya, how he found the talent and how he nurtured the talent from this young little boy and made him an emperor. So this kind of story encapsulates the role that the teacher performs day in and day out. And we deeply appreciate you teachers for all this wonderful thing that you groom our kids to become the better citizens of tomorrow. Let me give a quick overview of what we do in Bala Gokulam or Shaka. Gokulam is where Lord Krishna's childhood was spent, and that is where he manifested his divinity. So every child, we believe, has a spark of divinity in him or her, and we would love to have them manifest this divinity by telling them inspiring stories, playing games, and forming a community where we keep the culture of this great subcontinent moving. So HSS is kind of our version of the Sunday school. We all meet here every evening on 5 to 6:30. We do group games. The groups will be divided into different age groups, and appropriately the games will be conducted. We celebrate festivals like Guru Vandana is an auspicious festival that we celebrate, and other festivals as well. And we tell inspiring stories about Hindu culture to our kids. Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh is primarily an international non-profit organization with presence in North America, Caribbean, Europe and Africa. There are about 13 plus chapters in the Bay Area, and we have chapters around the other continents as well. So these chapters require a lot of coordination and collective energy and working. So we have leaders like Praveen Dhirji here among us, who collates these efforts and joins the beautiful strings of Hinduism come flower on a weekend basis. And we deeply honor all of our Shaka volunteers. It's a 100% non-profit voluntary organization, and we would be celebrating another quick announcement I would like to make. International Yoga Day, which was announced in the UN and adopted as a resolution by more than 150 countries when the Prime Minister of India had visited UN and talked about yoga as a contributing factor for success of kids. International Day of Yoga is coming up on 21st of June. We will have celebrations in this regard. So yoga has a lot of positive benefit for kids, increasing their concentration, memory, as well as their ability to respond to situations. So there will be a lot of programs going on. HSS with other organizations like Yogabhati is organizing events. We would love to collaborate with schools to bring in Surya Namaskar and yoga so that it increases the concentration of students. So we would come talk to you later on this regard as well. So please be aware of that. We will conclude with I have some pictures of the occasion that I just narrated, the shloka chanting by kids, wherein they chant the Sanskrit shlokas. Sanskrit is a very vibrational language. The minute you chant it, it's very scientific. You can see the benefits of itself in terms of the chant resonating with different vibrations. So we chant shlokas in Sanskrit. We play games with shishus, which are the smallest group of kids. The balas, little older, and the shishu plus bala sometimes based on story time. And taruns, which are basically the adults. We have discussions and all of these multiple topics. We have Ghosh, which is a music band that performed right in front of you when you made the entrance. And we do have arts and crafts where kids will develop different arts, like making artifacts out of different things. Saraswati Puja is where we honor the goddess of wisdom, Saraswati. Pujas are basically rituals that are performed to increase concentration and enable the sense of humbleness that we are a small piece in this big universe. So, to know our position better is one way where we submit ourselves to the Lord. Makara Sankranti is a festival where we do kite making and kite flying. And then Guru Vandana, the teacher's appreciation. This was 2014, last year's Guru Vandana. And Seva, which is a very basic cornerstone, a very fundamental cornerstone of Hindu culture, is Seva, selfless service. So we do serve the communities. We pack local homeless shelters, lunch bags on different occasions. And on Thanksgiving, for example, we do go to the center and then cater meals for the homeless folks, which they deeply appreciate. So Seva is another cornerstone where the current disaster in Nepal is a prime example where Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh and its ancillary Seva International are very deeply involved in the rehabilitation work that's going on in Nepal. So Seva is very important for every one of us. So thank you, teachers from all our families at HSS here for taking care of our greatest assets, our children. So namaste and a big home for all of you. Namaste.